Let's bring it home, and we're talking about Santam now, which is the market-leading short-term insurer in South Africa.
Controlled, of course, by Sanlam. It was founded at the same time, around about 1918 or something of that order. And yes, it has the big yellow umbrella and is the market leader for sure in this country.
Market cap 26.9 billion rand, PE ratio of 14.7, and a dividend yield here of 3.6%. Share price graph, we're going to get that up on the screen right now.
Paid a couple of special dividends in recent years as well, so that's been a great performer, as you can see.
It's very solid.
JP, you must love this one.
I do, and if you add back all the dividends and special dividends that they've paid over the years, it's also one of the best performing shares on the JSE. And people miss that point, that because of the cash generating nature of short-term insurance, you don't always see how well they performed on a share price graph if they do pay out the majority of cash, as Santam does. But a great performer, both in personal lines and commercial and corporate lines. So they are very dominant in the corporate space in terms of businesses being their clients, and also a significant player in the personal line space, which is a bit more fragmented, which is the retail space, correct, although intermediated. So you get your direct players, OUTsurance for instance, and then you get those that sell their short-term insurance through brokers like Santam, the biggest player in that market, and that works for them. A lot of people are saying, cut out the middleman, go direct, don't pay the brokerage commission, but they still pay that and they give a good service and they still keep quite a significant underwriting margin while doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting because, of course, when you are a business and you have a factory that burns down, it's quite nice to have a broker to feel like there is someone who's on your side in having that argument with the insurance company about whether or not the sprinklers were working or whatever. So those are the kinds of ways they pitch the product, and I think that does work. But they do have their own direct selling business as well,
My Way,
where they sort of compete with themselves, so they've got all the bases covered.
Yes, and that's very clever. A lot of businesses don't like disrupting themselves, but they saw this very strong trend towards direct. Young people enjoy being on the internet, speaking directly to whoever offers a service, not being intermediated. It is more profitable, and they've done that through
What about the disruptors to the environment? Now I'm talking, and we're going to talk about Discovery, but surely the competitive environment here is heating up.
It is. King Price Insurance, for instance, as well came into the market. So that's why personal lines in the short-term space is very competitive. You need to stay disciplined. You need to say no to business. And Santam have done that in the past, even though they've grown the top line still in line with GDP and 1 or 2 percentage points, but very competitive. On the commercial and corporate side, that's where they got less competition.
And they've got the market share there.
Correct. The dominant market share, very profitable for them. And it's interesting that no one has really cracked the correct underwriting through using underwriting management companies to really get that market and compete with them.
What about getting in at current levels, Paul? I mean, that share price graph, let's get it up again, is looking
Look, the only thing I will say is that it is very attractive through the cycles, but it is prone to a few wild swings, which probably have more to do with crop disasters, fires in places like St. Francis Bay, lightning and thunderstorms which destroy billions of rands worth of cars on the East Rand. So you've got to put up with the rough and the smooth with an investment like this.
Yes, the irony is it's a very volatile industry in the short term, but in the long term, if you've got different lines of business like Santam has, it smooths out and gives you a very nice, somewhat lumpy return over the long term. At this point, we are unfortunately in a bit of a lump if you think about all the big storms we had in the last few months.
So let's call it, hot or not, JP, would you be buying in at current levels?
So because of the storms we had recently, some fires, some issues, I think at this price, it's not necessarily thinking about pricing in all those risks. Even though they have reinsurance, I would say not hot.
Paul?
Look, I think that's a well-reasoned argument.
About the question there?
I was thinking of going hot on this one because I just think, Ilse Lamprechts and the team there working well with Ian Kirk having gone up to the Sanlam level. So I'm going to go hot on it. I think
I'm glad you managed to make up your mind in that segue.
And remember, I'm optimistic about the outlook for markets generally, and a lot of their returns are through the underwriting cycle, but also on the investment side of the business if the market continues to do well.
You haven't been listening to the weather reports of late, have you?